The guilt phase was over. The jury had spoken. Eric and Lyle Menendez were murderers. But the fight wasn't over. Not yet. On March 22nd, 1996, a new battle began. The penalty phase. This time, the brothers' lives hung in the balance. Would they face the ultimate punishment, death, or would they spend the rest of their days behind bars? The courtroom crackled with tension. The specter of the gas chamber loomed large. Jurors, emotionally drained from the previous trial, now faced an agonizing decision. Could they condemn these young men to death? The weight of their responsibility was immense. The atmosphere was heavy. The Menendez brothers, once symbols of privilege and wealth, now faced a bleak and uncertain future. Their fate rested entirely in the hands of 12 strangers. 12 people who held the power to decide whether they lived or died. The defense knew they faced an uphill battle. The prosecution had presented a strong case. The brothers' actions were cold-blooded, premeditated. But the defense team, led by the formidable Leslie Abramson, had a plan. They would appeal to the jury's humanity, their empathy. They painted a picture of two young men, deeply scarred by years of alleged abuse. Eric, the younger brother, was portrayed as a fragile soul, easily manipulated by his older brother. Lyle, the supposed mastermind, was depicted as a product of his environment, a victim himself. Their defense rested on the controversial claim of abuse. They argued that the murders were an act of desperation, a last resort for two young men pushed to the brink. Could the jury understand such desperation? Could they find it in their hearts to show mercy? The defense team knew they needed a miracle. They needed the jury to see beyond the crime, to see the brothers, not as cold-blooded killers, but as victims themselves. It was a long shot, but it was their only hope. The defense's case relied heavily on the testimony of mental health professionals. These experts had spent countless hours with the brothers. They claimed to understand the depths of their trauma. One of the key witnesses was Dr. William Vickery, a respected psychiatrist. He had treated Eric Menendez in the months leading up to the murders. Dr. Vicari's testimony was crucial. He could speak to Eric's mental state, his vulnerability, but then came the bombshell. Dr. Vicari admitted that he had altered his notes at the request of Leslie Abramson. The revelation sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The defense was blindsided. Their star witness had crumbled under pressure. The prosecution pounced, painting Dr. Vicari as a pawn in the defense's game. His credibility was shattered. The jury was stunned. This admission cast a long shadow over the defense's case. It raised serious questions about their tactics, their ethics. The jury, once sympathetic, now viewed their every move with suspicion. Dr. Vicari's admission had dealt a devastating blow to the defense's strategy. The courtroom drama intensified. The prosecution, smelling blood in the water, subpoenaed Leslie Abramson. They wanted her on the stand. They wanted answers. They wanted to know what she knew about Dr. Vicari's altered notes. Abramson, a seasoned attorney, knew her rights. She invoked the Fifth Amendment, refusing to answer questions that could potentially incriminate her. The courtroom erupted in gasps. The prosecution was furious. Abramson's decision was both strategic and controversial. It shielded her from potential legal trouble, but it also raised questions. Did she have something to hide? Was she protecting herself or her clients? The jury was left to ponder. The Fifth Amendment, a cornerstone of American justice, became a source of contention in the Menendez trial. It highlighted the delicate balance between protecting the rights of the accused and ensuring a fair trial. The drama continued to unfold. Section 5, Judge Weisberg's gavel maintaining order in chaos. The penalty phase was chaotic, emotions ran high. The courtroom became a battleground for legal maneuvering and accusations. Presiding over this storm was Judge Stanley Weisberg, a no-nonsense judge known for his firm hand. Judge Weisberg faced numerous challenges. He had to rule on a barrage of motions from both sides. He had to maintain order in a courtroom teetering on the brink of chaos. He had to ensure a fair trial amidst a media frenzy. Judge Weisberg's rulings were crucial. He denied the defense's motions for a mistrial, keeping the case on track. He allowed certain evidence while excluding others, shaping the narrative presented to the jury. His decisions carried immense weight. His stern demeanor and decisive rulings earned him both praise and criticism. Some lauded him for his fairness, others accused him of being too harsh on the defense. But one thing was clear: Judge Weisberg was determined to see justice served. Section 6, damning evidence notes from the therapist's couch. The prosecution, relentless in their pursuit of justice, presented a mountain of evidence. They meticulously chipped away at the defense's claims of abuse. One piece of evidence proved particularly damning: the brothers' therapy notes. These notes, taken during their sessions with a therapist, contained chilling details that contradicted their claims of self-defense. The notes revealed premeditation, anger, a desire for revenge. The prosecution argued that these notes provided a window into the brothers' true motives. They weren't scared, abused children. They were calculated killers. They had planned their parents' murders in cold blood. The defense tried to downplay the significance of the notes, but the damage was done. The jury had seen the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. The notes became a powerful weapon in the prosecution's arsenal. Section 7. The jury's verdict: life behind bars. After weeks of testimony, arguments, and deliberations, the jury reached a verdict. The tension in the courtroom was palpable. The Menendez brothers, their faces etched with anxiety, stood before the judge. The verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. But the jury, perhaps swayed by the defense's portrayal of abuse, spared the brothers from the death penalty. They would spend the rest of their lives in prison. The courtroom erupted in a cacophony of gasps, sobs, and whispers. The brothers, their faces betraying a mix of relief and despair, were led away in handcuffs. Their fate was sealed. Life behind bars awaited. The jury's decision sparked a national debate. Some believed justice had been served. Others felt the brothers deserved a harsher punishment. The case, with its themes of wealth, privilege, and family dysfunction, continued to captivate the nation. Section 8, post-trial maneuvers, a last-ditch effort. The legal battle wasn't over. The defense, determined to exhaust every avenue, filed numerous post-trial motions. They argued for a new trial, citing legal errors and prosecutorial misconduct. They clung to the hope of overturning the verdict. These motions, however, proved fruitless. Judge Weisberg, unconvinced by the defense's arguments, denied their requests. The guilty verdict stood. The brothers' fate seemed sealed. The defense's efforts, while ultimately unsuccessful, highlighted their tenacity. They fought tirelessly for their clients, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. Their persistence, while commendable, couldn't erase the jury's verdict. The brothers, now resigned to their fate, awaited their final sentencing. The specter of a life behind bars loomed large. Their days of freedom were over. The consequences of their actions had finally caught up with them. Section 9. Speaking Out, the brothers' truth and public outrage. In a surprising turn of events, the Menendez brothers agreed to a televised interview with Barbara Walters. Millions tuned in, eager to hear the brothers' side of the story. It was their chance to explain their actions, to express remorse. The interview, however, did little to garner sympathy. The brothers, while claiming remorse, appeared detached. Their explanations, riddled with inconsistencies, failed to convince a skeptical public. Public outrage was swift and fierce. Many viewers saw the interview as a desperate attempt to manipulate public opinion. The brothers, once objects of pity, were now viewed as cold-blooded killers seeking attention. The interview backfired spectacularly. It solidified the public's perception of the brothers as remorseless killers. Their attempt to control the narrative had failed. Their words, instead of eliciting sympathy, only fueled the flames of public anger. Section 10, Final Destination, No Parole, No Mercy. On July 2nd, 1996, the Menendez brothers received their final sentences. Judge Weisberg, his voice echoing through the silent courtroom, sentenced them to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice, it seemed, had finally been served. The brothers, their faces emotionless, were led away to begin their life sentences. They were transported to North Kern State Prison, a maximum security facility in the desolate California desert. Their days of privilege were over. Judge Weisberg also ruled that the brothers would serve their sentences in separate prisons. They would be forever separated, their bond severed. by the consequences of their actions. Their isolation would mirror the isolation they imposed on their parents on that fateful night. The Menendez brothers' case remains a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that wealth and privilege offer no escape from the long arm of the law. Their story, a twisted tale of family dysfunction and violence, continues to fascinate and horrify, serving as a chilling reminder of the dark side of the American dream.